Welcome to Excel Tips and tip number 27. Today we're going to be looking at loan amortization and some functions that work with it. And we're also going to prove that the functions actually work versus an arithmetic model. So, three functions that we're going to look at is PMT, so the payment function. And this one will essentially calculate out the payment which a loan will have to pay. So you take E12, which is your monthly interest rate in this case, because we're doing a monthly loan. You take your term, which is 48 months, E5, the initial value, or the PV, and the residual value, or the FV, which is nothing in this case. And Excel works its magic and gives you the payment. Now, arithmetically, usually you would calculate out the interest and principal. We're going to show you a different way of doing it, using IPMT and PPMT, which once you know they exist and know how to use them, can be very, very useful and save a lot of time. So IPMT, you use, again, the monthly interest rate. This time you say what period you're in, so PER, and it's period 1. You then say number of periods is 48. You go to PV, which is the initial value, and finally the FV, which is your residual value. And that will calculate the interest out. Similarly for the principal, the PPMT, it grabs the interest, followed by the period, followed by the number of periods, or the term in this case, the initial value, the PV, and the residual value, the FV, to calculate out the principal. And then, of course, you reduce the principal by the starting amount, and then further on, you just roll it over as you go down. Now, to show you that this is actually the correct formula, you can see it gets down to 0, and you can see the interest at 21,740 and the principal at 100,000. But arithmetically, now we've assumed that the principal payment is correct, so you can see we're referencing that from D20, which is up here. And we're going to go through and we're going to calculate out the interest. So we've said the interest is the PV of the loan multiplied by the interest rate of 0.83, and obviously that's going to multiply by the reducing balance as we go down. And then the principal is going to be the difference of the payment minus the interest, which then gives you the reducing balance. So we want to go scroll down, and we say at period 48 we do 21,740.4, which is exactly the same as over here, and 100,000, equaling out exactly the same as the functions did. So you can use these specifically to get your results. Cases where this would be highly beneficial is if you only needed to calculate out, say, the principal, then you don't actually need to calculate out the payment and the interest to get to that. Whereas in the arithmetic method, to get to the principal, you would have to calculate out each of these. That brings us to the end of tutorial number 27, looking at loan amortization and the payment functions, the full payment, the interest payment, and the principal payment.